Hello. Do you know how much the fees for Eton College are per year? And the fees include board, lodging, educational materials. There might be some extras, of course, but basically, all in, it costs about £47,000 a year. Do you know how much it costs to keep one of these Albanian prisoners in prison for a year? Well, it costs £57,000 per prisoner per year. At that rate, maybe we should send them all to Eton College. Anyway, let's get back to the original story that was published in the Telegraph. Of course, they're going to show the least prepossessing pictures of them all. And to be fair, anyone who's having a mugshot taken by the police is probably not in the best of moods, especially as if you've been obviously recently in something of a fight. So taking all of that into consideration, let's get into a nice bit of detective work which the Daily Telegraph has presented to us. It says here the scale of Albanian Channel migrants, the crime wave in the UK is revealed, and 80 people have been jailed for a total of 130 years in the first 4 months of 2023 alone. And this is something that the Telegraph has worked out based on a detailed analysis of every court case in England and Wales in the 4 months since January 2023. Last year, a record 12,301 Albanians reached the UK on small boats, representing a quarter of the total of 45,755. Now, I want to break this down. First of all, props to the Telegraph. They have found out something which we are not being told by most of the media and by the government itself. Well, not in any way we'd access easily. The second thing is that they're talking here about illegal migrants, not the legal ones. So you have to try and figure out why these people are coming in, not through the normal channels, not through the ports and the railways. And, well, all right, I shall backtrack a bit and talk about the sort of people I met in London. In certain parts of North London, there are a lot of Greeks, mostly from Cyprus. So why are they all in one area? Well, what happened was one person from some village in Cyprus went to work in England, found somewhere nice, found a good job, told his sisters and his brothers and his cousins and his aunts, and then anyone else who felt like he wanted to try and make a new life for himself came as well, but to the same place, because to start with they'd have stayed with this relative and then they'd have branched out a bit and become quite successful. The Greek community in London is a very successful one. Well, the same thing happened with the Albanians. You got a few Albanians coming here. Some of them were criminals. They saw a nice avenue of opportunity and brought in more of their friends, or told their friends to bring in more of their friends. And why would they do this? Why would they not just bring in people the conventional way? Because undocumented people who landed on our shores and the police don't know about them are very useful for a criminal organisation, aren't they? Now, we do know that a lot of these people are not documented. That is, first of all, there is evidence. I have seen videos of people in the small boats throwing their mobile phones overboard before they're rescued. And then they can tell the police anything they want, give any sort of false name, any sort of false address. And there will be others who are not caught on the channel. They just come in small boats and land somewhere and then disperse. This isn't an Albanian, but a woman. There was a story in the newspaper not too long ago where a woman found this African man, a young man, a very young man. I think he was maybe 16 or so, maybe even younger, in her house, and he had been dropped off on some beach, and he was trying to find his way to Manchester. And he'd just gone into her house. I don't know whether he'd just gone in looking for food or asking for a phone. He was terribly naive about what he could and couldn't do. In that case, he was a kid and from probably a very uneducated part of the world. These Albanians probably aren't quite so naive. They have come here without wives or children. They have come here illegally. They are already criminals, and then they're let loose on the British public and they commit all sorts of horrendous crimes. I'm not going to read out the list here, but it's here, and they are crimes that do involve many of which do involve a loss of life, and that's a loss of life of ordinary citizens here in this country going about their business when they find themselves face to face with some Albanian criminal who doesn't have a proper passport and can't be traced properly. All right, before I carry on, I'm going to tell you that I'm Granniopteryx. I'm on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds. I'm also on Twitter and Gab. That's where I let you know usually when I've uploaded a new video. You can donate to this channel. The links are all in the description. But you don't need a link to click the like button. So please do that, and you can share this video and you can subscribe to my channel. If you're on YouTube, remember, check you are still subscribed. Okay, so it says here the cumulative total of 130 years in jail will cost the UK taxpayer at least £20 million to house each offender for the allotted time. Now, we've got our government flailing about on this. Robert Kendrick, the immigration minister, poison chalice that is, began a 5-day tour of North Africa and Europe to boost cooperation with other countries in the hope of striking deals similar to Albania to stem the flow of migrants and counter people smuggling gangs. They're always talking about deals, and let's have a look at the sort of deal we're talking about. First of all, it says here, Albanian prisoners paid by the UK to return home. So that's our tax money going to pay these guys to go home. Albanian authorities have confirmed that most of its citizens forcibly sent back home from the UK this year were convicted of crimes there. Okay, so we're not sending back people that basically we're allowing this uncontrolled immigration, and the only ones that are being sent back, if we're lucky, are the criminals. But that's after they've committed crimes, remember. People have been terrorised, have been ended, and have had their lives overturned by these people, and then we send them back. The BBC has spoken to these men and learned that some prisoners were offered £1,500 to leave, and some plan to come back. Okay, well, that's awfully generous of the British government, isn't it? This is another article. Where is this? This is in a publication called AA, which as far as I can make out is a Turkish publication, but it's in English. The UK and Albania reached a deal Wednesday that will see hundreds of Albanian prisoners returned in exchange for British help to modernise the Albanian prison system. So we have the cost of the crime. Then we have the cost of keeping these prisoners in prison. Then we have the cost of offering them money to go home. And then, if they still have prison terms to serve, we upgrade their prison accommodation in Albania. And then we get these fine words from the government. Who's saying this? Oh, Rishi Sunak said he's great at fine words, isn't he? Foreign criminals who break our laws should not be able to stay. The new arrangement with Albania will see some of the most serious offenders serve their sentences at home, not here, at the expense of the taxpayer. Oh, but they are at the expense of the taxpayer, aren't they? It costs nearly £40,000 per year to house each prisoner in England and Wales, but we're saving some money because it's in Albania, instead of £109 a day to keep a prisoner, it's going to be only £32 a day to keep the prisoner. And remember, we are told that they are in prison in Albania. But whether they are still in prison in a year's time, as we're shelling out their enforced rental, we won't know that. Albania is well known for being rather disorganised and very corrupt and full of criminal gangs. It's basically a gangster state. And we don't know what government officials are taking money, this £32 per day, for a prisoner who's already gone back to his village, or even worse, has come back to England Britain under a different name. We don't know that, do we? So we are entrusting our taxpayers' money to Albanian authorities. Does that sound right to you? Well, it doesn't really sound right to me. In the past 3 years, 10,000 foreign offenders from around the world have been deported from the UK to their home countries. That's not enough. But anyway, and then we're discovering recently that the civil service, which has become politicised, and the more we discover about it, the more we discover that much of the civil service is governed by people who have links with the Labour Party one way or the other. I found a couple of articles, very disturbing to find that. They are trying to stop the Rwanda idea. Now, frankly, I think the Rwanda scheme is mad. As I've said, we don't want to send these people to Rwanda. We don't want them here in the first place, and we have the wherewithal to stop them from being here in the first place if the government would show some grit, but it doesn't. Now, Margaret Thatcher once said that the trouble with socialism is that sooner or later you run out of other people's money. And sooner or later, this government is going to run out of our money. It's basically a socialist government, and it's got the same sort of ideas, and there's not much to choose between them and the Labour Party. And they are going to run us out of money, if only on the migrant issue. These people are criminals right there, right then and there. And from then on, it's downhill all the way. Okay, till next time. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the granniopteryx design or Grambo with a firearm, or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.granniopteryx.com, and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share, share, share.